Well, good evening. Good evening. I'd like to welcome members of the City Council, our department heads, employees, staff, city elected officials, county elected officials, and members of the media. We appreciate you being here this evening. Before I begin tonight's State of the City address, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and show my appreciation to some very dedicated individuals. Because of their efforts, we are truly making a difference in building a better Peru. First, I want to recognize our department heads. A few years ago, I gave them a challenge to find new revenue without creating more taxes. Now, they have been very creative. They not only have accepted the challenge, they are meeting the challenge head on. They are creating new revenues, and they are also leaders that join with us to help us get our jobs done. They are leaders who can see the vision of what Peru can be. You know, Helen Keller once said, the most pathetic person in the world is a person who has sight but has no vision. In Peru, we have a vision. I am blessed to have these individuals as part of this administration. Would the department heads please stand and be recognized? Don't be bashful. It's her husband's truck, and they go out to Garden Gate and fill it with 300 gallons of water. The front end is probably off the road half of the time. And they come down to water before traffic picks up downtown. Now, we're trying to work with them to find better utensils for them to use, but we appreciate everything they've done, especially last year when we had the drought. They were the ones that kept the planters alive. Cheryl Embry and Nancy Dice. Would you please stand? Now, I kind of wondered, because I don't think their fathers know they're getting out that early in the morning. These are kind of young to be out on the streets at that hour. Also like to thank Garden Gate for all their help. I don't know, Marlon here? Garden Gate has been very helpful in that, and also Carla Denham from the Master Gardeners. She has been very helpful with that as well. Our park volunteers. If you go through the parks, you'll see a lot of improvements. They started with the Moses Puterball Museum. It was painted with green paint. They stripped that off and restored it, and makes a nice addition. They are also tearing down a building at a golf course, which has seen its better days. They're planting flowers. They are helping put new roofs on some of our shelters. All this is saving tax dollars. And so when you see these people, make sure you show them your appreciation. For those who are here, if you would please stand. Dave Tucker, Gloria Yours, Karen York, Amy Oaf, Bob Burris, Julie Spangler, Phyllis Pasley, Amy Hires, Caldwell Monument, Nancy Weeks, and Brenda Douglas. She's a shy one. Okay. But if you thank them for these are the park volunteers. Now with our new animal control division, we've been trying to find ways to eliminate some of the stray dogs and a lot of the other unwanted pets that we have in the community. What can we do to make that a better situation? Greg has been putting together a program where they have spay and neuter clinics, and that is helping out with the overpopulation of unwanted pets. What he has done is worked with Purdue University, and now we have a spay and neuter clinic that comes in once a month, and you can take these pets that he picks up, or cats that are being picked up, the feral cats that are in a lot of neighborhoods. We can get them fixed so that that population doesn't continue to increase. So I'd like to introduce these volunteers, because they go up on these spay and neuter clinics and they spend, what, about 6 hours, Greg? Yeah. 6 hours up there helping to get the dogs and cats taken care of, and then making sure they come out of anesthesia properly. They are Francie Benedict, Tammy Holtz, Ruth Bednar, Susan Klein. I know Susan's not here tonight because she had some surgery today. Randy Klein. Jen Scheffler. Tiffany Pope. Alexis Arnold. Alyssa Williford. Jen Bryan. Greg Bryan. Natasha McKinley. Lee Wright. Lisa Beckman. Hilda Lennon. Vicki Miles. Heather Richardson. And Erica Klein. Please show your appreciation to them. You know, when you see this many people that have volunteered, you know we live in a good community. So again, thank you all for everything you've done for us. So tonight's State of the City address is going to be a little different from past addresses that I've done. Instead of sharing the numbers and how many arrests we've made and how many fires we have been called upon and you know, the number of tons of trash we take to dumps, I've simply put those numbers in a year-end report. The council member all has a copy of that, as well as the media. If they have any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions at their convenience. But I wanted to tonight just talk more about what we're doing, where we're going, and why. So it's just more of a talk about the community we live in. If you want the copy of those numbers, Brenda, they will be online, correct? You can go on our website and you can get a copy of those numbers to review. So when I talk to individuals about their concerns, jobs is usually the first issue that comes to their mind. Therefore, I want to begin tonight's topic on that subject. As I look at what we must continue to work toward in order to meet our goal in job creation, education is front and center. It is the key that will open the door of opportunity for those seeking a better job. We look at education as probably the single most important item. Peru Community Schools and their programs have done an excellent job in getting students prepared for college. When you look at some of the programs that they have available, you can now get college credits while attending Peru Community School. That helps that student get ready for college a little quicker, and it also saves them cost in college. We also have an intern program. Cindy Merrick is in charge of that program. The city of Peru, I should say, is involved with that program. What it does, they have kids that may have a special interest in a certain area that they want to get more information on. So Cindy contacts businesses that do that type of thing. They match them together, and then you can go in and intern for so many days, and you learn whether you would like to continue doing that, or maybe you want to choose another career choice. Now, we've been involved for a number of years, and I remember the very first intern we had. We made a difference in his life, but not in the way you might think. He came in because he had an interest in government or politics. After about 3 weeks in the program, we were talking, and I just asked him if he had any questions and any concerns he may have. And he said, you know what? He said, this is a lot different than I thought it would be. Because at the time, we were doing a major road project. We had some other issues going on, and it was one of those times it was very, very busy. I said, what do you mean you might be different? I don't want anything to do with this type of work. So we got him on the right track. Now he's an educator. He's going to end up teaching young kids, and that's a good thing. So sometimes it works either way, because he made a decision that was not his field of choice. But, you know, when I came into this office in 2000, the high school graduation rate was around 69%. Today, it's 96%. The numbers have just been reversed, and that is thanks to Mr. Brimberry, his staff, all the people that are involved with the education at our local school. They work to make sure the kids got their education, stayed in school. It's going to make a big difference, because when those kids stay in school, hopefully they go on to college. When we increase our post-secondary education numbers, we increase our chances to attract new jobs. You know, again, when I came into office, post-secondary education rate was less than 10%. Businesses look at that and say 1 in 10 people in that community have gotten any education. You know, 31% dropped out. They're going to say those people don't really want a job, or we can't hire those individuals. So we need to be on the course that we get students ready for the education for the jobs of tomorrow. And the high school has done a great job in getting everybody prepared for the future and getting our workforce where it needs to be. Because the more skilled a workforce you have, the better your chances of landing new opportunities. So I applaud you for your efforts. Now, when we talk about education, everybody is very well informed when you hear the word Newtown. We have a different society today. It is more violent than we've ever seen. Now, in our students, if we want them to succeed in school and have the best learning environment, we have to make it the most secure environment. Superintendent Brimberry has been having meetings over the past few weeks talking about what can we do. Some may say that'll never happen in Peru. I don't think anybody here wants to roll the dice that way. We want to make sure our kids are protected. There are 5 school buildings that we're talking about. We are talking about getting a law enforcement officer in each one of those schools for the time the kids are there. How much is it going to cost? Well, we know it's a pretty costly figure. But is it worth it? I would hope you'd say yes. Our kids deserve to be protected while they're in school. We want them to come out and be better educated. We want them to be a difference maker in this world. Now, tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, I called Superintendent Brimberry back, and Jackie Gray and I have talked about any funding we may be able to do. We think we have found a way that we can provide an officer to Peru Community Schools. Now, there will be some shared cost in that. We haven't worked out all the details, so I can't give you the exact plan. But I want you to know tonight, as we're going through this, we will pledge our support to Peru Community Schools to make that school as safe as we can be, or those 5 schools as safe as they can be, and you can count on us to help. Okay, thank you. I hope everybody understands that situation and knows that you can't say it'll never happen here. You don't want it to happen, then say, well, I wish we'd have done something. You made a very good point of that today, Mr. Brimberry. Appreciate that. Now, to qualify for the jobs of tomorrow, as I said earlier, you need an education today. Ivy Tech is another opportunity. There are some very good things about it. Number 1, it's very affordable. Number 2, it's close to home. A lot of people can ride their bike, walk, if you don't have a vehicle. There are a lot of people who need to increase their educational ability in order to land a better job. Ivy Tech will give you that opportunity. You know, the skilled workforce, as I said earlier, and I think it was in the paper today, the newspaper, that Workforce Development was talking about what they're wanting to do to get those numbers up. So there are a lot of people working together on that. Ivy Tech will be a very good tool in the toolbox as we go through that. I would advise you to take advantage of it and make sure that you get qualified for these new jobs. Now, you know, if I look back quite a few years ago when, you know, Peru schools, the city of Peru, Miami County, we all worked together to bring Ivy Tech here. Why? Because we knew that post-secondary education rate was not where it needed to be. So we drove to Indianapolis. We talked to the board at Ivy Tech, and they told us what we would need to be able to get an Ivy Tech campus in Peru, Indiana. And we had about 3 months to get it done. The number was $750,000. Now, to some, we'd say that's a deal breaker. But we wanted it bad enough, we said, we're going to take that challenge on. So we came back, put a committee together, a lot of people sitting in this room that were involved with that. Did we raise $750,000 in 3 months? No. We raised $800,000 in 3 months. That was a testament to this community that says we want to have that campus here in Peru. So we did it. We went back to them, and they said, wow, they wasn't sure that that was going to happen. still today, they use the Peru campus as a model when they talk to other communities. We're very proud of that. So we have brought Ivy Tech here, but it's up to you to take advantage of that opportunity. Please do it. And also, if you know, money is an object, finances may be a little tight, there are scholarships that you can get through Ivy Tech. A lot of the Ivy Tech Foundation has some grants. I think the Community Foundation, other groups that will put money into that. My wife and I give to a fund that helps to provide scholarships for those. A lot of ways people get involved, so you don't think you can afford it, get in your way. Check into it. It'll be a great opportunity for you. Now, economic development is a good transition from education because the two are very much tied hand in hand. When we look at what we have to do in economic development, you know, when the companies come to town, the first thing they want to know is what incentives are available. And that is when Jim Tidd and Christy Householder have to go to work. You know, most recent situation when Dean Baldwin Painting came to town, and they said, this is what we're looking for. Jim and Christy made some calls. Not only are they looking at tax abatements, low interest buy downs, and all the money that comes available, not just from the local, but from the state and the federal government as well. So Jim and Christy did a great job of putting a package together, and we won the battle on that one. For winning that battle, we have up to 200 jobs that's going to be coming here to this community. 2,600, Jim? 2,600 applicants were received?
At least 2,600 for 200 jobs.
So we are starting to fill that void. But you know, when we look at things, the incentives, you say, what are you talking about? You hear tax abatements. And I think tax abatement to this day is still the most understood incentive that we have. Most people hear tax abatement say they are not paying any taxes whatsoever. And that's not true. Tax abatements are only for new construction or new equipment. So if a company comes in and they say we need to add on, but we need a tax abatement, they only get it on the improvement made. The taxes they paid last year, they're going to pay next year. They just have to stair-step in the taxes over however many years that we give them. Now, if we didn't offer the incentive, they didn't come here, we're going to get last year's taxes, but there's no chance of getting any new taxes. In the second year, even if you have a 10-year abatement, in the second than you would have if they didn't build and stayed the same. So it is a good tool. We've created TIF districts, which means tax incremental financing. Gives them other reasons to build here. Say interest buy downs, reduce land costs, all of those are all part of it. Then you ask, how do you fund those programs? We use what is called CEDAT, or Community Economic Development Income Tax. A lot of communities have used in this CEDAT fund since taxes and property taxes have gone down and their revenue sources are drying up. They said, we will take that and use it for our operational cost. We will not. That money that you pay was intended to create jobs through economic development. And we have not spent any on operation. Jackie and I have sat down, talked about it. So all the money you pay for economic development is going toward economic development, not to give us more money to spend on other projects. And we will continue to do that. So when a big project comes along, we will have some money that can help. The other thing I think we are blessed with in Peru and Miami County is that we have great cooperation between the city government and county government. Many communities cannot boast that. We get along with all of the people in the courthouse and county government, and we're probably good friends with most of them. So when some individuals come here, we get along, they're going to say, well, I was just over in another county, and I won't mention that name, but in another county, and they will not cooperate, they will not share funds, they will not share resources. That is why they're going to come to us. So we are very thankful, and for those county officials in the audience tonight, thank you for your friendship and your cooperation. It is working. We also have North Broadway development. You've heard about that for a couple of years. One of the things we are still working on is this floodplain issue. If you're familiar with floodplains, they're saying you can't build in certain areas of floodplains without insurance, and the insurance is very high, and et cetera, et cetera. Jim Tidd and myself have been to Washington, D.C. on a couple of occasions to talk to FEMA about getting this reduced or eliminated, which I think it should be eliminated because, in my opinion, it's never going to flood. It never has flooded, and I just don't understand why we can't get that written off at this point. When people are building out there, they ask about that. They don't want any cost to like build the ground up and then pay insurance on top of that because they're looking at their bottom line, and I understand that. So we are continuing to work on that, and we will get that created, or eliminated, I should say. We're also looking at the utilities that need to go into that area, the roads. So we have plans on that. We have ideas on development throughout that area. And when you look at that whole area out there, that could add 1,000 acres to the corporate boundaries of the city of Peru. And in that 1,000 acres, it could create 1,600 new jobs. Now, don't go out tomorrow and say, Jim Walker said 1,600 jobs come to Peru in a week. It's not going to take, or it's going to take more than a week. When I'm talking about how we get that created, there'll be other mayors come in here and take part of this too, because you know, it takes time. You have to have the money. You have to extend the water and the sewer, roadways going in. You got to do all your bridges that cross the creek, and there's a lot of things, a lot of expense. But what we do today will create jobs for tomorrow's workforce. So we're building foundations, and maybe the next group that comes in will be the ones that actually build on it. But without a foundation, you're never going to start. That's what we're trying to do with North Broad out there, because I'm not saying it's this year or next year, but in future, that piece of ground out there is going to be a lifeblood for this community, and we need to stay focused on that. We're also looking at downtown improvements, because if you look at where the most jobs are being created today, it's small business. That's the majority of the jobs created in small business. So we want to make downtown more attractive to new business. That's why we put in the new sidewalks. We know we need to fix up some buildings. Now, we can't go in and tell you to go fix up your building the way we want, but we can encourage it. We would offer you incentives to fix up your building so that, you know, when people come into our community, boy, what a nice little community, and we want to be a part of it. That is what we want to hear. We know we got to improve some signage, we got some parking issues, but when we look at what we have done so far, a lot of people that haven't been here in a while and they come back, they're impressed at how different the town looks. And I hope that people see that, that live here. We're also hearing people say about the cleanliness of our downtown. You know, a lot of people have asked me, why are you running a street sweeper through town so often? There are two reasons for that. One is because we have to meet the Clean Water Act. We cannot leave a lot of debris on the streets, because when that rain comes, it washes into the storm drains, it goes to the river. So, you know, we put a lot of salt and sand on the streets throughout snowstorms in the wintertime. So we have to tell them how many tons of that we put on. And to give you an idea, to go through Peru one time with salt and sand mix is 80 tons that we put on it. Because we're near about 90 miles of streets we maintain. So if you look, it's further than going from here. You're going to go to the south side of Indianapolis, and that's how many miles of road we have to maintain. So we have to say how many tons we're going to take off. We got to measure that. But it also keeps the town looking clean. We don't want weeds growing up in the curbs and all that. We want people to come here and have a good first impression. You know, we think that we're getting that done. I also think that it'll increase tourism dollars. The more we have downtown, the more attractive it is, more businesses they can shop in, more activity we'll have with tourism. One of the big things that we'll continue to work on, and you've probably seen it, I've heard the question, boy, you pave a lot of streets, or you're fixing a lot of these. They need it. It's not that we're just wasting money. If you look at the streets today, and we have a list of them, probably about 25 streets. We're not going to be able to do all of them next year. But if you look at the streets today, and you see all the cracks in it, go back in the springtime when that freezing and thawing takes place. It tears those roads up. Now, would you want to drive in potholes, or you want the streets repaired? I want them repaired. We have found a lot of streets that were installed wrong. Some of them had no base on them. They were on top of dirt, 2 inches of asphalt on dirt. They don't last very long. We're fixing them right. Again, we want all the streets to be passable and safe. We also have sidewalks we're looking at going out North Broadway. You know how the development area is occurring. It'll be on the west side. What we want to do is make sure people have the ability to walk out to those businesses. Maybe they don't have a car and there's some business, whether it's going to a pharmacy or one of the other businesses out there. We want them to have safe passage. We don't want them walking along the edge of North Broadway. There could be a serious accident. We're also looking along West Canal to make a sidewalk so the kids that are going to Miamisport and maybe even to Homer's, they have sidewalks to walk in. I don't like seeing the kids walking the streets, especially when it's dark. And there are a lot of kids that go there to the bowling alley when it's dark. And they may not be wearing light-colored clothing, so we want to make sure they're safe, and we're looking at some streets there. But another exciting program that Councilman Greer and Councilman Guston, Mark Demchek from the YMCA, and myself are on a committee that's called Complete Streets. We're looking to become a complete street city where they grant money to help repair streets. We have some where kids are walking to school. Again, they're walking in the street. This time of year when it's dark in the morning, they shouldn't be walking there. We want to make sure that it's better, has better lighting, and we want to get some passages in there to make sure that they can be safe on that. So we will continue to work on that. We have another meeting coming up, and we'll keep you posted on that. But if we can get the grant money, we can make better sidewalks again for our youth to travel on. As we attract more local business, we must be willing to support them. A lot of people say, why don't we have this store here? Well, they have been here before, but they didn't have local support. You know, and it's tough being a local business person. Not only are you looking at competition within your community, how many people shop online? How many people get in a car and drive to Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, or Lafayette, or wherever to go shopping because the opportunities? Give the local merchant a chance. Maybe they can find your product. If you want to have these businesses here, we have to support them. So I ask you to please do that. And it's the same with our entrepreneurs. We want them to stay focused. You know, we have a group of entrepreneurs that believes in Peru, and they're willing to invest in Peru. And you know, the only thing they ask in return is your support. I'll give you a good example. The Roxy Theater out there, all local tax, or not local tax, all local invested dollars. No tax, no. But you know, you had 6 families that put this money up. They don't know if they're going to get their money back on that or not. But they thought enough Peru to do it. All we have to do is go out there and buy a ticket now and then and support them. But you look at that, it's over $2 million investment they made in this community. I give them all the credit in the world. You know, we need to support people that are willing to do that. All the other little shops that are coming in, go in and look at their products, see what they have. Support them so that we can keep them here and make the town look more vibrant. We'll move on to quality of life. That's a term that I've been very fond of over the years when I look at what we have to offer here. And I know there may be some that say, you know, there's nothing for kids to do here, and there's some other issues we got to address. And I say, you know, if you don't look what you have, you'll never find it. You have to look sometimes. So I'm going to share some things with you on quality of life. I look at our parks, including our golf course, and the new ideas that they have and the volunteer projects that they are doing. I'm going to read some of the things that's on the list of things to do in our parks. New walking trails. Kenny Binge is our park superintendent, and he has a map that he's working on right now. It'll be online eventually, won't it? Where you can go in and look at these trails through some of our wooded areas of the park. So he's been working on that. Shelter house upgrades, so you can take your family there for picnics. Handicap playground equipment, so kids who do not have the mobility to use some of the other swings and things we have, they can go to the park and be a part of it. New ADA compliant bridges and walkways, new landscaping, new uses for the softball park, clean up and removing dead trees. I think right now we have 60 dead trees that we've been removing, so that have died, and instead of leaving them, you know, there and fall in, They are cutting them down, and if you would like firewood, they have plenty of it. But we want our parks to be more family friendly. You know, in today's society, a lot of times people do not have the money to take that long family vacation. But wouldn't it be nice if they say, right here in Peru, Indiana, I can go to that park or any of the parks that we have and spend a day with my family and have a great time. They have swing sets, they have all the things we would like to do. So we are really putting an effort to getting our parks cleaned up. Not that they needed a whole lot of work, but just going to another level and making them more available for our families here in our community. I mentioned earlier, our animal care and control has organized spay and neuter programs to help to control the unwanted pets or stray dogs from roaming the streets. If you look at that facility, and if you haven't been up there, I'd ask you to do that. From where we started and where we are today, that was the old Miller Pool. Now, I know that was not a popular thing for a lot of people. And, you know, I still stand by that decision because no one was using the pool when it was closed. You know, at the end, we always hired the YMCA to manage that pool. We went from, at its height, about 20,000 people a year using it, down to 4,000. We were losing $50,000 a year on it, and that doesn't include the water bill and the leaks we had in it. So when we closed that, we knew that people are saying we need another pool. Are we working on that idea? Yes. But that's a lot of money, and we got to figure out how we're going to do that. So we're working like a little public-private partnership on that type of a thing, and too early to announce any details because a lot of them could change. But Miller Pool building sat there empty. I did not want to see it get to the point where we had to tear it down. It's too good of a building. So if you haven't seen how we renovated, it's a very nice facility. The animals are inside. It's roomy. It's comfortable for them. They can do everything they need to. They have the spay and neuter clinic. They are adopting out. How many dogs did you adopt out this year, you remember? 76 dogs. In the past, some of those dogs would have had been euthanized. Now those animals have a second chance. It's a very good operation, and if you haven't been up there to see what it's all about, I'd ask you to take a chance to, or the opportunity to do that. There's also going to be a dog park up there where the pool's at. There will be a dog park where you can go up and let your dogs frolic up there. So a lot of good things happening at that location. Now let's get into the kids' activities. When we say, what is there for kids to do? I'm just going to name a few programs. YMCA, circus, youth sports programs, both within the school and programs like the Little League programs and things of that. Music programs. Mrs. Spar is doing a great job with that music program. If you have young kids, I'd encourage you to look into that. Nickel Plate Trail, Roxy Theater, the old fire station, and First Christian Church youth activities at that location. Ballet Arts, Ole Olson Children's Theater, Peru Library programs, and that's just to name a few of them. So when people say, what can we do with our kids? We have a lot to do. And as we mentioned earlier, the parks. There are a lot of things that kids can do in the parks just to relax. In the arts and entertainment, because every community needs arts and entertainment, Arts Alive. It has one of the greatest art collections that you'll ever find, especially in a community of our size. There are other communities bigger than us would die for that collection. And if you haven't been up there to view that, when they're open, go up and look at it, see what we have. You know, it's a great program. Peru High School programs, whether it's some music programs or the kids doing their theater up there or other opportunities they have, good programs for them. Ole Olson. Ole Olson's in its 50th year of doing live stage theater. So we have things that are happening. Can we add to this? Yes. And we want to do that. We want to see some more activities downtown where you can have music venues. Myself, I'd like to see jazz music. I like jazz, and we're working towards something like that. So we have a lot of good things that we can do. The other thing, when you look at how we benefit people, ADA issues. A lot of communities have said, yeah, we know we need to address them. But we have. The entire downtown can now be accessible in a wheelchair. 2 years ago, I couldn't have said that. And you know, when you say, how did you decide to do this? Well, the Harvesting Capabilities Organization, which is our local ADA group, they came about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. And they said, we want to take you a tour of Peru. I said, okay. So when I came out the front door, there was a wheelchair sitting there. And they said, you're going to be in this. Biggest eye-opening experience I ever had. A drop down in the sidewalk, just that much will throw you. There were some that had 4-inch drops. There were some sections where you had to go into downtown. You had to go in the street because it was safer to go in the street than on the sidewalk. Now, anyone who has mobility issues can shop downtown because they're shoppers just like anyone else. They can go downtown and they can shop and enjoy what everyone else enjoys. We have probably corrected more ADA problems in the last few years than many communities our size. We're proud of that, and we're proud of the employees that we have that can do this type of thing. Because if you watch some of the projects we do, you don't see a lot of construction companies. You see a lot of our own employees out here trying to do the work to save money. So hats off to our employees as well. Another problem program that we're looking at that'll help with neighborhoods. You've probably read in the paper about a tax sale, commissioner sale, sheriff's sale type of program that we're looking at. It is not meant to harm anybody, it's meant to help everyone. A lot of times you see these sale properties get purchased for $15 and nothing happens to them and they rent them out. The roofs are falling in, the furnaces may leak CO2, who knows about it? All we're saying is if you buy one of these homes, we will do an inspection prior to the purchase of that home and say, if you buy this in a sale, these are the things wrong with it. It needs a roof, there are 4 windows missing, the furnace is bad, the plumbing is bad, it had termite damage, whatever. We'll list all those things so you know that you have to fix those things if you buy it. And then once you get those completed, you get a certificate of occupancy. It means you can live in it, and our building inspector has approved that house. So if you move in there, you're not going to worry about, is the furnace leaking CO2? Is the roof going to fall in on me? Or the floor is going to collapse because of the termites? We're trying to make better homes. And if people would take advantage of this, I'm ready to offer them a residentially distressed area that'll give them a tax abatement on the improvement costs that they make. Not on the total property, just on the improvements that they make. So now they can fix up the property, get better renters in there, make a difference in our neighborhoods. So the residentially distressed area would be a bonus for them to do that. This community is a great place to live. Could it be better? Sure it could. That is something we'll be working on for years to come because there will always be change and we must be willing to change if we want to move forward. And part of the change has to start with us, those of us who live here. I'm talking about our attitude toward this community. If you see a half of a glass of liquid, would you say it is half full or would you say it is half empty? The optimist says half full, the pessimist says half empty. The optimists, like the volunteers that we recognize tonight, get involved to help make a difference. The pessimist must ask themselves, what have I done to help my community? If we all join together, we can make greater strides in improving our community. If you have concerns, come to where your concerns can be addressed. They will not be answered in a coffee shop or an online chatting. We are on the right track. Our glass is not half empty, it is half full. And I will debate that with anyone. In order to keep our community moving forward, we must continue to invest in improving our infrastructure and our efforts to create new opportunities for job creation. We must develop a collective attitude that says we will all work together to make Peru a place where investors want to build and families want to live. We must continue to think outside the box to find solutions to our problems. Abraham Lincoln once said, there are 3 purposes to thinking: to solve problems, to create opportunities, and to enrich the human condition. That is exactly what we want to achieve. We are working to solve problems. We are working to create opportunities. And if we achieve these two, we will certainly enrich the human condition. We have had setbacks and we have faced some difficult challenges. And I know that sometimes it seems like the wheels of change are moving way too slow. There are no easy answers. Some see this as a terrible time to be a leader. I instead look at it as a time to rise up, meet the challenge, and embrace the opportunity to lead when it matters most. We will succeed in our efforts, but we must believe in our community and each other. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people." We will continue to do good things, and we will reap our harvest. Good night, and thank you for coming.